Hello students, how are you all? I hope you all are doing great. I am Neha Rajvanshi and I welcome you all in today's class, that is English class of class 9th. So students, in today's video we will start reading with our next chapter from the book Moments. This is chapter number 8 and the name of the chapter is A House is Not a Home, and this chapter is written by Zen Gaudioso. So we can say she is the writer of this chapter. So student, just look at the name. The name of the chapter is A House is Not a Home. So what it means, many of you can think that house and home, they are just a synonym, but it is not like that. House and home, there is a difference between house and home, because house, it is a building, right? It is a place where we live, it is a building. But home is a place where there is love, where there is affection, where there is the emotional bonding between the member of the family. Okay, so home is the place where we can have love, where we can have security, where we can find emotional support, and where we can feel that yes, our family is always with us. Okay, so now this is a story, and now let's begin the story. First of all, before you read, so before starting the story, let's get some idea. This story reflects the challenges of being a teenager and the problem of growing up. So in this chapter we will see the challenges that a teenager is facing. Okay, so the character of our story is a teenager, and that person is having some kind of challenges in her life, in his life, and we can see the problem, that what problem are there in growing up. How does the author overcome his problem? So now the question is that teenager person that is there in the story, that person is having so many challenges, so many problems, but finally he is able to overcome all his problem. Okay, so now this is the question, that how finally the author, the narrator, he overcome all his problem, all his issues, and we will find the answer in the story. So now let's begin the story. My first year of high school felt awkward. So now the narrator is saying that when he was in the first year of high school, so that year was very much awkward for him. Awkward means very strange, or we can say weird. Okay, so now finally narrator, when he is there in the high school after completing his schooling, when he is finally in the high school and when he is there in the first year of high school, and we can say that that year was very much awkward, that year was very much weird for him. Why? So let's see. After leaving junior high at the head of my class with all the seniority the upper grade levels could afford me, it felt strange starting over as a freshman. So why narrator, he is feeling very much awkward, why he is feeling very much weird in the high school? Because till now he is there in the junior high school, right? So when he was in the junior high school, at that time he was the head of his class. Okay, he was the representative of his class, and he was having all kind of seniority there. Why? Because he was in the upper grade of that school. Okay, but now in that high school he is there just like a freshman, and he has to start all his things from zero. So obviously it was a very big change, and the narrator, he is not at all able to deal with this change, and this is the reason he is feeling very much awkward. He is feeling very much weird, very much strange there in the high school. Clear? So right, again we can say that till now he was there in the junior school. So when he was in the junior school, he was the representative, he was the head of his class, right? And he was there at the the uppermost class. But now in that high school he is there as a freshman. Okay, and he has to start all the things from the zero, from the starting, and this is the reason he is not at all feeling comfortable there in the high school when it was the first year of his high school. Clear? The school was twice as big as my old school, and to make matters worse, my closest friends were sent to a different high school. And now the narrator is saying that this school, this new high school, it was very big, the building was very much big, and narrator is saying that it was twice as big as his old school. So when he was there in the junior high school, but now when he is there in the senior high school, so this school building is twice large, twice big comparatively to his old school, and why the situation is worse. So narrator is saying that to make the situation, to make the matter worse, all the close friends that he was having, they all are sent to a different high school. It means in this high school he is having no friends. All his friends that were there in his old school, now all his friends, they are to a different high school, and he is the only one from his group who is there in this high school. So he is having no friends here, and this is the thing that is making the situation even worse. I felt very isolated. So now when the narrator, he is having no friends, no companions, so this is the reason that he is feeling very much isolated here. He is feeling very much alone here. I missed my old teachers so much that I would go back and visit them. So he was missing his friends, he was missing his schools, and he was missing his old teachers of that school, and he was missing that much that he just would go back and he just would visit all his old teacher there in his old school. Okay, so now obviously this place is new for him. It was new school, teachers are new, all the students are new, and he is having no friends, no companions. So now he was very much isolated, now he was very much alone there, and this was the reason for him. The new school, the new atmosphere that he was having, everything was so much weird, everything was so much awkward. They would encourage me to get involved in school activities so that I could meet new people. So when the narrator, when he was there with the teachers of his old school, and when he was having all these things that he was not at all comfortable in his new school, he was not having friends there, then his old teachers, they would encourage him to get involved in all the school activities so that he could meet new people, so that he could make new friends there. They told me that in time I would adjust and probably end up loving my new school more than I had my old one. So now the narrator, when he was sharing all his thoughts with his old teachers, then they told him that when he will be there in all the activities, when he will involve in all the activities, so that he can meet new people, he can make new friends, and very soon he will be able to adjust there in the new school, in the new atmosphere, and probably he will end up loving the new school more than the his old school. Okay, so now the teacher, they are encouraging him, they are motivating him to participate in all the activities, so that the narrator, he can make new friends, he can meet with new people, and maybe very soon he will be able to adjust in the new school, he will be able to adjust in the new atmosphere, and then obviously he will be able to like his new school, and maybe even more than his previous school, more than his old school. They made me promise that when that happened, I would still come by and visit them from time to time. So now when the old teachers, when they are having this opinion that maybe very soon you will start liking your new school, then at the same time they made the narrator to promise this thing that when that time will come, when he will start liking his new school, so that time also he will come here and he will visit them from time to time. I understood the psychology in what they were saying, but I took some comfort in it nonetheless. So now the narrator is saying that the narrator, he was able to understand the psychology that they just wanted to say. Okay, but finally the narrator, he was able to feel some much little bit of comfortable. Okay, so the narrator, he is saying that he was very much aware with this thing that all his older teacher, they just wanted to have some kind of साइकोलॉजिकल इफेक्ट दैट अगर वो इसको इस तरह मोटिवेट कर रहे हैं दैट जस्ट इन्वॉल्व इन ऑल द एक्टिविटीज़, एंड मे बी नया स्कूल तुम्हें इतना अच्छा लगेगा कि तुम यहाँ तुम्हें टाइम ही नहीं मिलेगा आने का. सो दिस वॉज द पार्ट ऑफ साइकोलॉजी दैट दे जस्ट वॉन्टेड टू कन्वे, एंड द राइटर, द नरेटर, ही वॉज वेरी मच अवेयर विद दिस थिंग, बट स्टिल he was able to feel little bit of better. Now he was feeling little bit more comfortable. One Sunday afternoon, not long after I had started high school, I was sitting at home at our dining room table doing homework, and now the narrator is presenting next thing, and he is saying that it was a Sunday afternoon and not long after I had started high school. It means very recently he started his high school, and now it was a Sunday afternoon, and in this Sunday afternoon the narrator, he was sitting at home and where at the dining room table, and he was doing his homework. Okay, so it was Sunday, it was afternoon time, he is at his home, he is at the dining room and he was doing his homework. It was a cold and windy fall day and we had a fire going in our fireplace, and now narrator is saying that it was the winter season, so the day it was very much cold, it was very much windy fall day. It means very much cold was there, and strong wind was also there, and this was the reason that they were having a fire that was going in the fireplace. So in this picture you all can see that when it is winter season, when there is so much cold, then each and every house they are having such kind of fireplace in which they are having this kind of fire. Why? Just to keep the house warm. Okay, so in the house of the narrator they were having the fireplace, and in that fireplace they were having the fire. As usual, my red tabby cat was lying on top of my papers, purring loudly and occasionally swatting at my pen for entertainment's sake. And now narrator is saying that when he was doing his homework, when he was sitting on chair, then he was having one pet cat, and that is a red tabby cat. So in this picture we all can see this is the red tabby cat. This is a particular kind of breed of cats. So the narrator, he was having a cat, a pet cat. So that cat was lying on top of all the papers and she was purring loudly. Purring is the sound that is created by cat. So occasionally she was sounding this kind of purring sound. She was creating this kind of purring sound, and occasionally she was swatting at my pen. And why? Just to entertain herself. So what swatting means? It means to hit. Okay, so she was there, she was lying on top of all the papers and she was creating a sound, very loud sound, and occasionally she was hitting the pen of the narrator just to entertain herself. She was never far from me, and the narrator is saying that that cat, she is very much attached with the narrator, and this is the reason whenever narrator is at home, so this cat is always near the narrator. Never ever this cat is there far from the narrator. I had rescued her when she was a kitten, and somehow she knew that I was the one responsible for giving her the good life. And now the narrator is telling the reason that why the cat is so much attached with the narrator. So narrator is saying that the narrator, he had rescued her. Rescue means to save the life. Okay, so when this cat was a kitten, when it was a small baby cat, at that time the narrator, he rescued her, he saved her life, and finally the cat is able to understand this thing that the narrator, he was the one who is responsible for giving her the good life. Okay, so finally the cat is having the realization that the narrator, he saved her life, and this is the reason the cat is having a love, affection for the narrator, and this is the reason that always she is there near the narrator. My mother kept stoking the fire to keep the house nice and warm. So we have read earlier that in that house there was one fireplace, and because it was winter season, because it was very much cold, so they were having a fire going on in the fireplace. And now narrator is saying that the mother of the narrator, she just kept stoking the fire. Why? To keep the house nice and warm. So what it means, stoking the fire? It means feeding and tending the fire. It means if there is some fire in the fireplace, then time to time we have to shake the fire. Why? ताकि वो properly जलती रहे, अच्छे से जलती रहे, and to just keep the house nice and warm. So the mother of the narrator, time to time she was stoking the fire. Suddenly, I smelled something strange and then I noticed it. So now the narrator, he has presented all the scenario that it was Sunday, he was sitting in his house, he was doing his homework, there was fire in the fireplace, the cat was there and the cat was also sitting there. But suddenly the narrator, he smelled something very strange, and then finally the narrator, he noticed that ये जो smell है ये कहाँ से आ रही है, किस चीज़ की smell है. Smoke pouring in through the seams of the ceiling, and finally the narrator noticed what? He noticed that through the seams of the ceiling some smoke was there that was pouring in. So what seams of the ceiling means? In this picture you all can see जो room की ceilings होती हैं, right? उनमें यहाँ जो corner पे जो joints होते हैं, they are known as the seams of the ceiling. So in that dining room where the narrator he was sitting, he was doing his homework. So उस room की जो ceiling थी उनमें से जो seams बनी हुई थी, so from there the narrator he was able to see that the smoke was pouring in. Okay, the smoke began to fill the room so quickly that we could barely see, and when the narrator he noticed that there was smoke that was coming inside the room, and the smoke began to fill the entire room so quickly that the narrator he was unable to see anything. Now very barely he was able to see anything. Groping our way to the front door, we all ran out into the front yard. So now what it means, the smoke was there and it was filling the entire room, and the narrator he was not able to see anything. It means the house was on fire, there was fire in the house. And finally groping our way to the front door, groping means searching blindly. So because of the smoke जो narrator थे वो clearly देख नहीं पा रहे थे, so now he was searching the way to the front door, and finally all ran out in the front yard. By the time we made our way outside, the whole roof was engulfed in flames and it was spreading very quickly. And narrator is saying that by the time when they all were outside into the front yard, when all made the way outside, by the time the whole roof of the house, it was engulfed in flames. Engulfed means surrounded by. Okay, so the entire roof of the house, it was surrounded in flames and it was spreading very quickly. Okay, so जो fire होती है बहुत ही speedily spread होती है. So now the same thing is happening here. बहुत जल्दी बहुत quickly जो fire थी, it was spreading, the flames were spreading, and now the entire house was surrounding by the flames, by the fire. I ran to the neighbors to call the fire department while I watched my mother run back into the house. So now finally the house was on fire. So now what the narrator is doing? Narrator ran to the neighbor's house. Why? To call the fire department. Okay, so now this is the first thing that we all should do whenever there is fire anywhere. So the narrator first of all he just informed the fire department. He called the fire department, and at that time he watched his mother to run back into the house. Okay, so he saw that the mother of the narrator, she was running back into the house, right? Why? Because it is so much dangerous, because there is a huge fire is there, so many flames are there, but still the mother of the narrator, she was running back into the house. My mother then ran out of the house carrying a small metal box full of important documents. So why the mother of the narrator, she was running back into the house? Because she just knew that all the things they will be destroyed because of the fire. So she just wanted to save all the things, as many as she would be able to save. So finally after some time the mother of the narrator, now she ran out of the house, and now she was carrying a small metal box, the box that was full of important documents. So mother of the narrator, she just wanted to save, she just wanted to protect all the important papers, all the necessary papers. So this was the reason that the mother of the narrator, she ran inside the house and she brought this small metal box, and in this box there were so many important documents. She dropped the case on the lawn and in a crazed state ran back into the house, and when she was having this metal box, so now she just dropped the box, she just dropped the case where on the lawn, okay, and after dropping the case one more time she ran back into the house. And how? In a crazy state, it means in a very abnormal manner, okay. So first of all she ran inside the house and she brought this metal box, and after dropping the box on the lawn on the grass, one more time she ran back inside the house, and this time she was running very abnormal way. I knew what she was after, and this time the narrator, he knew this thing. He was very much sure that this time what is the thing that the mother she will bring out. My father had died when I was young, and I was certain that she was not going to let his pictures and letters go up in flames. So narrator is saying that he knew very much that what is the thing that the mother is looking for, what is the thing that she will bring out this time. So he is saying that the father of the narrator, he had died when the narrator was very much young, and this is the reason the narrator was very much sure, he was very much certain that the mother of the narrator, she was not going to let his picture, his means the father's pictures and letters go up in the flames. So narrator, he was very much sure that the mother would just save all the pictures and the letters of his father. They were the only things that she had to remember him by. And why the mother of the narrator, she just wanted to save the pictures and the letters of his father? Because these things were the only things that she was having to remember her husband. Still, I screamed at her, "Mom, no!" Okay, so narrator is very much sure. He just knew that why the mother is running inside the house. Still, the narrator is very much worried for his mother. So this was the reason that he was shouting. Scream means to shout. So narrator, he was shouting to her mother, and he shouted, "Mom, no!" I was about to run after her when I felt a large hand hold me back. And when the narrator, when he saw that his mother was running back into the house for the second time, at that time the narrator was very much worried, and he just wanted to run after her. Why? To stop her, to protect her. And at that time the narrator felt what? A large hand that was holding the narrator, okay. It was a fireman. And who was the person who was holding the narrator? He was a fireman. I hadn't even noticed that the street had already filled with the fire trucks. So as the narrator, he had informed the fire station, so now the entire street, it was filled with all the fire trucks. So many firemen was there, and one of the firemen, he was holding the narrator. I was trying to free myself from his grasp, yelling, "You don't understand, my mother's in there." So when the fireman, he was holding the narrator, so at that time the narrator, he was trying, he was doing all his efforts. Why? To free himself from his grasp. Grasp means the hold, okay. So he was just trying to free himself from the hold of the fireman, and at the same time he was yelling, he was shouting, and he was saying that, "You don't understand, my mother is there inside the house. I have to go to save my mother. I just have to go to bring my mother back." Okay, so now in this picture we all can see, this is the picture and this is the house of the narrator, and we can see the flames, the fire, and he is the narrator, okay, and he is the fireman who is holding the narrator, and the mother of the narrator, she is inside the house, okay. And this is the reason the narrator, he is so much worried, he is so much tensed. He held on to me while other firefighters ran into the house, okay. So narrator, he is shouting, he is yelling, and he is trying to free himself from the hold, but still the fireman, he was holding on to the narrator very tightly, and all the other firefighters, now they were running into the house. He knew that I wasn't acting very logically, and that if he were to let go, I would run, okay. And why the firefighter, still he he was holding the narrator. So narrator is presenting the reason, and he's saying that he means that firefighter. So that firefighter knew this thing very well, that कि अगर उन्होंने narrator को छोड़ दिया, so obviously the narrator he would run inside the house, and this thing is not at all logically, because it is very much dangerous to go into the house. I would run, he was right. And narrator is saying that जो firefighter सोच रहे थे कि अगर उन्होंने मुझे छोड़ दिया तो obviously I would run inside the house. So the firefighter he was very much right. अगर firefighter उनको छोड़ देते, so obviously the narrator वो घर के अंदर he would run inside the house. It's all right, they will get her, he said. So finally the firefighter he said that it's all right, you don't need to worry, because the firefighters are there inside the house and they will get her, they will bring your mother back. He wrapped a blanket around me and set me down in our car. Next thing the firefighter did, he wrapped a blanket. Wrapped means to cover. So the firefighter he covered a blanket around the narrator, and then he set the narrator down where in the car. Soon after that, a fireman emerged from our house with my mom in tow, and very soon, very early, a fireman was there that emerged from their house. Emerge means appear. So one fireman was there, and that fireman appeared from the house, and with the mother of the narrator in tow. In tow means behind him. Okay, so first one firefighter was there, and behind the firefighter finally the mother of the narrator was there. Now she was safe, she was outside from the house. He quickly took her over to the truck and put an oxygen mask on her. Okay, so yes, she was safe, but still she was there inside the house, and inside the house there was so much smoke. Okay, so the firefighter very quickly he took the mother of the narrator over to the truck, and then he put an oxygen mask on her. So in this picture we all can see this is the oxygen mask. So why he put the mask over the mother of the narrator? Because she was there inside the house and there was so much smoke. Okay, so now she was unable to breathe properly, so this was the reason they put a oxygen mask on her. I ran over and hugged her. So when the narrator, when he saw that his mother was there, so the narrator he ran over to his mother and he hugged her. Okay, he hugged his mother. All those times I ever argued with her and hated her vanished at the thought of losing her. And it is saying that at that time, all the times whenever there was some kind of argument, whenever some kind of fight between him and his mother, so all those thoughts, everything just vanished, everything just disappeared, and now he was having only one thought in his mind, and that was to lose her. It means the narrator is trying to say that at that time he was very much worried for his mother. He was having only one thought in his mind that कि वो अपनी mother को खोना नहीं चाहता था. And earlier there were so many moments whenever there was some kind of argument, some kind of fight between him and his mother, but now everything just vanished, everything just disappeared, and now only one thought was there in his mind, and it was just he just wanted to save his mother. She is going to be okay, said the fireman. She just inhaled a little smoke and then he ran back to fight the fire while my mother and I sat there dazed. So when the firefighter, when he realized that the narrator is very much worried for his mother, so the firefighter he just he just wanted to console the narrator. So he said that don't worry, she is going to be okay. Next he said that she just inhaled a little smoke. Okay, so why? Because she was there inside the house and there was so much smoke. So this is the reason she just inhaled a little bit of smoke. Next, after that, the firefighter he ran back inside the house. Why? To fight the fire, and the mother of the narrator and the narrator, they were sitting there. How? Dazed. Dazed means confused and puzzled. So they were unable to understand anything. They were just sitting there. They were just looking their house. That was that there was a fire on their house, and they were just sitting there, they were just looking. I remember watching my house burn down and thinking that there was nothing I could do about it. And now the narrator is saying that, when he was sitting there, when he was looking towards his house, so now he is saying that he remember watching his house that was burning down, and he was thinking that there was nothing that the narrator was able to do about that thing. So how helpless he was, that he was just sitting there and he was just looking towards his house that was burning down. 5 hours later, the fire was finally out. So fireman was there, fire truck was there, and finally after 5 hours, finally they were able, to put the fire. Our house was almost completely burnt down, and because of the fire जो उनका घर था नरेटर का, it was almost completely burnt down. But then it struck me, I hadn't seen my cat. Now suddenly one thing was there in the mind of the narrator. Suddenly he realized this thing, that he hadn't seen his cat. Where was my cat? Much to my horror, I realized that she was nowhere to be found. Finally the narrator, he was having this kind of realization that where is the cat, because जब से वो घर से बाहर आए because of the fire, he was not able to see the cat. But now he is having this kind of thought that where was the cat, and he was very much worried because he realized that the cat was nowhere to be found. Okay, so the narrator, he was looking for his cat, but he was not able to find his cat, and now the narrator is very much worried for his cat. Then all at once it hit me, the new school, the fire, my cat. I broke down in tears and cried and cried. So now when the narrator is not able to find the cat, so now all the things were there in his mind. Now he was having this thought that first of all he was very much depressed because of the new school, because the narrator, he was not able to adjust in the new school, he was not able to adjust in the new environment. So already he was very much uncomfortable, and then the fire was there on the house, and now the cat was not there. Okay, so many things, so many problems, so many issues were there, and because of that finally the narrator, he broke down in tears and he was crying. Okay, I was suffering loss, big time, and finally the narrator, he realized that yes, he was having a very great deal of loss. The fireman wouldn't let us go back into the house that night. Okay, so now finally जो आग थी घर में लगी हुई वो बंद हो गई थी, but still जो firemen थे, they wouldn't allow them to go back into the house that night. It was still too dangerous, because it was not at all safe to go back into the house that night, because yes, fire was not there, but smoke was still there, and so many poisonous gases were there, right? So it was not at all safe, it was not at all advisable to go back into the house that night. Dead or alive, I couldn't imagine living without knowing about my cat. Okay, so now the narrator is saying that he just wanted to know about his cat, he just wanted to know that whether his cat is dead or alive, but still he was not at all ready to leave that place, to leave that house without his cat. Regardless, I had to. Okay, so the narrator, वो बिल्कुल चाहते नहीं थे कि वो अपने कैट के बिना वहाँ से जाएं, but still उन्हें जाना पड़ा, because firemen, they didn't allow them to go back into the house. We piled into the car with just the clothes on our backs and a few of the firemen's blankets, and made our way to my grandparents' house to spend the night. And finally the things that they were having with them, they were having just the clothes that were there on their bags, right? So उनकी belongings जो थी वो सब कुछ destroy हो चुकी थी, उनकी belongings के रूप में सिर्फ वो clothes थे that they were having, they were wearing, and they were having a few of the firemen's blankets. That's it. Okay, and finally they made their way where? To the grandparents' house to spend the night. So finally they were going to the grandparents' house, because they were not at all allowed to go inside their house that night. So for that night, to spend that night, they were going to their grandparents' house. Okay, So students, now what will happen next? What will happen to the cat? Whether the narrator he will be able to find the cat or not, or one more question is there, that whether the narrator will be able to adjust in the new school or not. Okay, so many things are there, so many problems are there in the life of the narrator. So how will he deal with all the problem? We will come to know in the next video. So see you in the next video. Thank you.